see how this girl does with her like 200 cold cranking amp battery. Just hold it on, man. Woo, that's a lot of vibration. What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to another Trans Am video. Now today we are going to be installing new T-top seals. Something I've been kind of putting off, and now the fact that after I completed the engine swap, for some reason they kind of seem to have healed themselves and they're not leaking. We even took it in a car wash a couple of videos back and they really don't leak, so I feel a little bad about doing it, but I know they definitely need to be done. You'll see exactly why once we start digging into it. So something kind of cool that I noticed, this car has the original T-tops. They're actually VIN-etched. So they've never been replaced. The passenger window is original, and it definitely appears like the windshield is, yeah, the windshield's also original because that's VIN-etched in the same way. The only glass that seems to be changed is the driver's side, so car stolen at some point, broken into, who the hell knows. I'll find a safe place for these. I don't know where that's gonna be. So take a look at these babies. They're really not in terrible shape. For the most part, they're still, you know, the shape they're supposed to be. They're a little bit harder than probably when they left the factory, not as like malleable. And that's definitely gonna affect the sealing abilities, even though, like I said, they seem to not really be leaking anymore. So who knows, I might be doing more harm than good right now. But pretty much this is all one seal, so this is gonna be new all the way across here, and then it continues down this way. So the whole door seal is going to be changed as well. And then they come with the separate piece that goes along the glass. So that's that seal right there. And you can see that's pretty rough and all torn up. But the biggest issue with this car in particular, and it's a very common car on all these third gens, the T-top crossbar. This one is completely rotted out. And when that water used to come in the car, it would come in through like the holes in here. You can see how there's a little rust here. So I think my main source of the leak is the T-top crossbar. So we're going to be replacing that today as well with a stainless unit that hopefully is going to outlast the rest of the car. There might be screws under this, but I think it's time to start ripping them out. We got no trim on the inside. No, this one still has a screw in it. The other side didn't. But that's pretty much it. We got a couple of clips holding where it comes down the back edge of the window. It's like kind of push pinned into the body. And then the rest, there might be a push pin down there too, at the bottom of the windshield. The rest of this is just, I think it sits in a channel with like a groove, and there's just probably gonna be a bunch of glue under it. The cleaning is gonna be a pain in the ass, most likely. Yeah, tools would probably help. Ugh. Oh. Yay, more rot holes. On the part of the car that's not removable. It's like, almost like it's like, they use like windshield urethane in here. Maybe not. No, it's a little, it's really, oh, it looks like urethane. It feels like it's too soft though, more like a silicone. Notice my use of plastic tools to avoid damaging the beautiful paint on this thing. Yeah, that's not good. There's just water directly under the seal. Little 7mm head screw. Oh, we got a lot of pieces to remove, I'll tell you that. A lot of pieces. There is some questionable rot back here. I don't know if it's actually penetrated the channel. Once we wire brush this, we get a good look at it. There is some material missing here. There's just metal that's kind of eaten away. But, I mean, I'm not even going to do anything about that. I'll probably just maybe hit it with some rust reformer. And then just epoxy, not epoxy, just like glue the shit out of it, because he's going to have to get silicone back in anyway. Oh boy, more rot. I was so tempted to put the interior back in before doing all this. I'm glad I didn't. Oh wow, this side is even worse. My God. That is just gone. There's no channel left. Completely just eaten away. I might just pull the driver's seat too to do the other side, because this is actually very, very convenient having no seat in here. Oh, wow, that side was barely held in at all. Whew. All right. Old seals are out. Old T-top bar is out. Surprisingly, everything looks pretty good. There is a little bit of weirdness going on. We have a tiny bit of rot. There's a pretty substantial hole right at the top here, the top of the windshield. That, I think, our best course of action to repair is going to be just some JB weld. I'm really just trying to keep the water out. Plus, once the seals are in, you're not going to see this, so who really cares? Same thing along this channel. There's just pieces that are kind of missing. Wow, that actually has a hole at the top of the channel, just because it's rotted and like it just got eaten away. Some over here. There's some back here. There's a little bit on the edge down there, a little bit in the middle. However, there's also another hole right back here that just kind of pitted and rotted through. No, they're just little kind of pinhole, nothing super major, but once again, we're just going to clean that up. And just fill it with some JB weld. Once the seal's on it, you're never going to see it. Now, on to the weirdness, because it looks like the car may actually be sort of kind of maybe folding in half. So I went ahead and pulled these rails out because I wanted to kind of clean up back here a little better. It allowed me to kind of get in there, and plus that gasket came off in pretty good shape, so we could just lay some weather stripping glue on here and stick that back on. But after I pulled these off, I did notice some weirdness. So you can see we have a little bit of almost like cracking going on, but I think that's just the seam sealer, because the joint where the roof is welded or soldered to the quarter panel, there's like a seam that goes right across here in this area. So I think that's why that's like that. That's just seam sealer. I might dig into this a little bit just to make sure that's not like rotting out. There's no rot holes under there. However, on the passenger side, it's another story. We actually have some penetration. So you can see we got a crack. That's definitely gonna let some water into the car. And it kind of starts back here. So this is probably where that seam is. This might be the actual seam right here that just goes right across. Because I remember I saw this when I did the body work on my Camaro and I had that stripped down to bare metal. But pretty much it's coming right into the quarter or the sail panel over here too. So I'm going to address this. We're going to kind of grind into this. I'm going to see if maybe I could weld it. And then if I have some filler, I'll put a little filler on it. For the most part, you're not going to really see it once this is installed. While this trim is back on. This part you will though. So I want to make it a little nice. But I mean, overall, you know, some stuff we're going to do just to kind of prep this before we get those seals in. But I mean, considering the condition of this guy, it could have been way friggin' worse. I went ahead and sanded off the Duplicolor rust reformer I put on here. I was sanding it and I noticed that it was coming off a little too easy, and the rot, just what's remaining of the rust, it was starting to kind of powder up and you're getting like brown powder. So there definitely is some rust in there. It's in the pits, like you can't get it all out. So I decided just to hit that with some Por 15. That's some pretty gross stuff. You get that on your hands, it doesn't come off for like friggin' weeks. And lastly, I think I am going to address this quote unquote crack by just smearing it with some JB Weld. It's not necessarily like a crack as it is more of like a void, because where they fuse the roof to the quarter, I think they braze this somehow. I don't know what this material is here, and I do not want to weld on it. You can see here we're all solid here, and then there's just like an opening in the metal. Maybe it pulled apart this way, I'm not exactly sure. So I'm just gonna smear this with JB Weld just to seal it up so nothing can get in there. And when we paint the car and the whole thing gets stripped, maybe we'll address it then. It wasn't an issue when I did not know about it, so I am not planning on making a big deal about it now. I also went in here, and any little spots on the edge of this where there were some chips, like there's a chip with like rust under it, I pretty much sanded that down to bare metal on both sides. Right on the edge here, there's quite a bit bubbling up down here, up here. So I got that all out. There was no damage done to the metal, and we'll just hit this with some primer. The good thing is the car is missing paint in like a lot of places. So just leaving this as it is and just covering up the metal, it's not gonna really mess up our beautiful patina. Well, I gotta wait for that Por 15 and JB Weld to dry, so we might as well tackle the T-tops themselves. Now, I don't know if I'm gonna pull the rails off of here. I might. Oh man, this is on here real good, huh? That is in there real good, huh? Let's pull this cover off. There's a keyhole on here. I never knew that. I guess you could lock the T-tops if you want. So people don't steal them? Why would you need that? Ah, well, that explains it. The sealant is bolted to the window. Get the handle off. There we go. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. Ooh, I can lube all this while I'm in here. Why? Okay, the new seals do not have screws in them. Is that good, bad? I would think that's a bad thing. I'll rip this out, go from there. Yeah, here's the old, here's the new. Screws are loose. Oh, is that what that is? So I initially thought the Weatherstripping kit that I got comes with these guys, which I thought they were rails for the door. Because there's, you know, you have the channel back here. There's also a channel here, and this actually fits. It's like contoured like almost perfectly to the windshield. Like it fits in there pretty good. I thought this was a replacement for that. I'm like, it's too short. What the hell is this shit? It is not. This is actually for the T-top. Oh, by the way, if you're wondering what I'm using for a gasket set, I bought this from Hawks 3 years ago, like when I got the car. And it's been sitting in storage. It's a little bit, it's a little bit wonky. There are parts that are flat, parts that are just kind of wrinkled. So I don't know. I'm hoping this is going to bounce back once it's on the car. It might just leak profusely once it's installed. But I mean, there's nothing I can really. This was like a $400 kit. I believe they are Fairchild Industries, FCI, I think makes them. Apparently OER made a kit too, but a lot of people, a lot of stuff I've been seeing online about them with that kit says they fit like crap. I'm definitely concerned, especially with this part. Then it also has this piece here. This is kind of the drip rail that hangs over. That sits in there, and then it has 3M tape that's supposed to stick to the glass. I am very concerned about that. Let that kind of sit a little bit. Why does that not? That one doesn't even remotely line up. What the? All right. All right, so we're pretty much prepped. We are ready to paint this guy and get our seals installed. Now, I went a little bit further with this than I thought I was going to. This is really a job to do when you're painting the car. So I decided just to go out, get some WA8751, some matching base coat for this car. I got some clear coat and I got some primer. And pretty much I want this to be a nice, clean, painted, matching surface. So it gives our gasket sealant the best shot of sticking to the car. Plus, when it does come time to paint this, all I'll have to do is kind of peel the gasket back, stick some tape in there, and then I could just scuff and just spray this. All kind of the edges and inside here, like when you open the door and where this trim sits, there's just a little bit of paint showing. I want all that taken care of, especially since there was some rust over here and some rust bubbling up. One thing I did forget to do was the rust holes in the T-top channel. I was supposed to come in here and JB weld this. I forgot. So we're just going to leave that alone, and I'm just going to smear some extra goop in there when I go to glue the seals in. For the front here, I also forgot to fill that hole. However, this is going to get filled with goop anyway because the T-top crossbar gets gooped here, and then there's a gap back here where the seals then start, and that just gets pumped with like butyl caulking or seam sealer, pretty much right to the edge of the roof, and then you kind of wipe it clean. So that you're not going to see. That should seal the water out anyway. For the JV weld on the crack, I got that sanded. At least it's filled now. I'm not going through the effort of bondoing that. I really don't care. At least it's filled, no water can get in there. Once this is it, but the trim is back on, you're barely gonna see that edge anyway. And my plan to kind of make this not look terrible, I'm gonna spray all the way down here, right to the top of this opening. And then anything that has bare metal showing. And then I'm gonna kind of stop at a certain point with the base coat. And then I'm just gonna sand the edge and just scuff all the exposed like new paint up. Just so it kind of matches the car a little more, because I'm not planning on painting this thing anytime soon. All right, so the painting is finally finished. This came out pretty good. Nice adhesion. I don't have any drips anywhere, at least nowhere that I could see. And remember, my goal here wasn't to make this look good, like on the car side of things. I just wanted a nice matching, clean area for the weather stripping to glue down to and not have a hard edge on this corner. And that's pretty much what I accomplished. For the rest of this, I kind of tried to feather it where I brought the base coat out farther, and then I only brought the clear to around here. And the color actually matches pretty good, but I'm gonna let this thing dry for a few days, and then we'll come back once I have the rest of my adhesive too, because I ordered a bunch of adhesive. It has not arrived yet. And then we'll glue that T-bar down, and we'll start getting the gaskets installed. But right now, let's head back on over to that T-top, because I want to address that piece of trim with that stupid 3M tape. All right, so I started messing with this earlier. I don't know if that part is staying in the video. I don't know how the continuity of this video is going to flow, but pretty much I started mounting the weather stripping here, got all this stuff apart, and this is the kind of drip rail that hangs over. I got the old one floating around here somewhere. This thing that's like falling apart, it hangs over the door seal and the glass. And the factory one was glued in place. The replacements used 3M tape, and I thought this was going to be an issue. I let this sit a few days. I had clamps on it, but if you could see, the tape's just not adhering all the way. So I'm going to try to peel this off without ruining it. We're going to remove that 3M tape, and then I have some black weather strip adhesive, which is what the factory actually recommends using. And I'm going to, I think actually in their service bulletin, we'll get to that in a minute, they recommend using urethane. But the weather strip seal will hold that on. It's just a thin piece of plastic. So I actually managed to get all that 3M off with some rubbing alcohol and just scraping at it. The wax and grease removed that. I just have to wipe this down real quick, but there's no glue stuck on there. And I'm gonna use Permatex black weather stripping adhesive. I ordered the 3M stuff. It's supposed to be here tomorrow. I at least want to get this done. It's probably the same thing anyway, but I'm just gonna use the Permatex here. We're gonna put a nice bead in there. I never used this stuff before. I only use the, wow, that's not even a, oh, that flows pretty good. I've only used the yellow, that really stringy stuff. I don't know if this is gonna be like that. Oh, this stuff is liquidy, I will say that. I don't know if this is the right move or not. Though it's gonna be more RTV-like. All right, let's see. So this guy. That should sit pretty good. If I could find my, oh, my clamps are over there. Come on. Ooh, it's all kinds of pouring out. Oh boy. I don't know how good this is gonna work, because this is I was hoping it was gonna be more of an adhesive. It is, it's an adhesive, it's not a caulk. I guess I wanted it to be more of like a caulk. Because there's this gap down here. Nah, I don't like it. Get it off before it dries. So this is probably gonna be the best time as any to take care of this. Let's get this sprayed. I got some Krylon. I like this. I use it on my, I use it on the trim, the drip rail trim on my Camaro years ago when I painted it. That car's been sitting outside, put a little bit of wax over it. Like when I buff the car, I just go right over onto the trim. It's actually like still holding up great. It hasn't faded or done anything weird. Plus this is a really easy place to, you know, touch up if it did ever become an issue. And it's what I have on hand, so it's what I'm gonna be using. Can't even tell the car was painted up here, right? Look at that, beautiful. Anyway, it is the next day, and we are ready to install our T-top seals. Now, before we get started, I just want to say I have never done this before, so try to go easy on me in the comments. This is a very touchy subject because all these cars leaked. They've leaked since like day one where they were made, and yeah, they leak. So people have tried multiple things to try to fix them, so if somebody sees me doing something that essentially isn't going to be something that they've done, I know I'm going to hear about it. But for the people who are actually trying to do this for the first time, I do want to leave you with a few pieces of info that I think everybody who's done this job can agree on and how I'm going to approach this. So first of all, you're going to need minimum 2 types of glue. This is bare minimum to do this the way at least GM intended, which probably isn't that great anyway because they leaked and they built the car. But anyway, you're going to want a type of butyl sealant. This is rope form. So this is the same stuff, if you ever pulled the door panels off of these cars, that tarry goo that holds the weather liner to the door, that's what this is. It's kind of like malleable. It doesn't fully dry. It remains kind of squishy and sticky. And that's what we're going to use to kind of fill the gap where the roof meets the door and the T-bar itself, where there's no gasket, where there's just gaping voids where water could get in. They also make it in caulk gun form. I think this is going to work a little better because I could really pump it into those seams around the T-bar and kind of shape it where I want it. So I picked up both types of that, but you're gonna want the butyl sealant, and then you're gonna want a weather stripping glue. And this is what's actually gonna glue the rubber to the T-top channels themselves. Now on top of that, I did go ahead and pick up just a run-of-the-mill 3M auto glass urethane. This is probably overkill, but I'm gonna use this to glue these guys on. The weather stripping adhesive wasn't working very well, so and that 3M tape was absolute crap on here. It was just peeling off and leaving a bunch of gaps. So I'm going to just pump a little bead of that, glue this onto the glass, and then we could get those channels back on the T-tops and get the new weather stripping installed. Now, as for my approach, I'm just gonna use common sense. I'm gonna look at what I see and say, hey, that is a giant void. A bunch of water is gonna get in there and potentially get in the car, and I'm just gonna seal it up. Now, GM did release a service bulletin for this. I think it was in the 90s. It's kind of funny to read through. They have a bunch of different, like, all different sealants and stuff they want you to use. They even had these stands with like shower heads on them that I guess the dealers were sent or they had to buy, and it simulates like heavy rain, and that's how they would kind of verify the repair to make sure nothing was leaking. The funny part is, looking in that bulletin, it actually says from GM that these seals were only designed to seal in natural conditions, so rain, you know, storm, stuff like that. They say they're not really meant to seal in a car wash, which doesn't make much sense to me because I've been in multiple I mean, these seals are in terrible condition. We went through a car wash with them a few videos back, and they actually didn't leak with the exception of a small drip by the door seal. And I've been in torrential rainstorms that do not compare to a drive-through car wash whatsoever. So I'm not feeling too confident. If they can't seal To me, if they can't seal in a car wash, they're not going to seal outside. I'm going to try to link that bulletin down below if you do want to follow it, because I did some research and I'm going to follow some points of that. Also in that bulletin, they did mention taking some sealant and putting it over, kind of in this opening where the weather stripping touches against the body of the car. That's why when I pull that weather stripping out, I'm like, why is there glue in here? That apparently was a service bulletin to try to get these to stop leaking. They were literally just like pulling stuff out of their ass, trying to just glue this, glue that, and get them to stop leaking. So at the end of the day, if you're doing this job, or if you've done this job, and your T-tops can come off the car and go back on the car, they're not permanently glued in place, and they don't leak, you've won. Well, I wasn't recording, but you didn't miss much. All I did was lay down a bead of windshield glue. And now I'm just gonna kind of form it around kind of the edges where the factory did, where this molding meets the glass, just because it looks a little dried up. Is the right side, right? Yes. Out of this already. All right. All right. That looks pretty good. I'm pretty sure the holes don't line up on this one, because when I was test fitting the other one, I had to drill my own hole in the center for this bolt, because the ends line up and this one lines up and that one doesn't. That's gonna get in the urethane. All right, so our channel's in place. I'm not getting ahead of myself. I'm not gluing this in yet. Yeah, there is a little bit of movement left to right. The problem is this needs to line up with the door seal. So you know what? I'm gonna leave this off for now. We're gonna fit that once the seals are on the car. I'm not sure if this is gonna sit against anything on the car to try to seal, or if like a piece of rubber just goes, it's gonna hang over that. So I'm using, I got some plastic. Normally you wanna use like cling wrap with this, for this. I do not have some, so hopefully this works. And all I'm gonna do is lay it on top of this urethane, just so I can flatten it. And then when it dries, I mean, if it was cling wrap, it's not gonna stick to the cling wrap. You could just peel it right off. So that's what I'm gonna do here. Hopefully this peels off, because it is not cling wrap. All right, now for the T-top bar. This is another thing I've had sitting in storage for 3 years. Clearly we're not putting that thing back on. So I have a very expensive, too expensive one. I think this thing was like close to 400 bucks. It's from Hawks, and it's stainless steel. So this will never happen again. It comes powder coated. It's all ready to go in. Something I did notice, the ends of this, they leave kind of a large gap. The old one was actually, like you saw that rust in the front and back of the window channel, the old one was actually rubbing against the car. This one just leaves giant gaps. And at some point, looking through those service bulletins, there was like foam that GM recommended installing to stop the leak. So to reseal the both bottom ends of this to keep the water from getting under it. And then putting some foam back here or something to fill that gap. I don't know what the story with that is, but like I said, I'm just gonna fill that. Just fill it up with some urethane seam sealer. Now taking a look here, you'll notice when I pulled these apart, there were two pads of like foam under here. There's one square here, one square here. I believe that is just for vibration, so the body doesn't kind of vibrate against the T-top panel. They probably initially were also used as like a sealant, but clearly that didn't work. That's when GM started telling people to start like just throwing gobs of butyl under there. So just to put that back, so I have something for vibration, I'm gonna put some sound deadener. I'm gonna cut 2 squares. I'm gonna put it right here behind the screw holes, because we're gonna fill this with goo, and I don't want this sitting there, even though that's how they would have did it from the factory, because I don't know how well this foil is going to seal against the glue. And then this bridge here, that's the important part. That's what we need to really goop up, because you got to remember when this T-top bar is installed, you're going to have a seal going this way. It stops there, then it goes along the T-bar, stops there, and then it comes back. Same on that side. This whole section has nothing here. There's just a void. And you can see there's an opening in that channel to fit the T-bar. That's where 99% of the time you're going to get your leak. This is going to rot out. Water's going to get under here, and then it's going to get in the car from there. Now, in addition to that, we're going to combat leaks by using some weather stripping glue under this outside channel before we pop that in. And then we're also going to follow up with some of that seam sealer, urethane seam sealer on top here, like GM put in their amendment in that TSB to try to really seal this up. And then the last area that's really going to be an issue is this clear area that's an issue. This is where the roof transitions into the door seal. And once we have that rail back on here, there's still going to be a gap. That's where the butyl caulking is going to also come in, where we're going to just pump this full of butyl to try to make a bridge so it's a smooth transition that gasket could sit against. All right, so I came in here with the caulk gun and I pumped a bunch of the butyl right in this gap here, right down the middle of this. And I put some plastic over it to kind of form it into a nice flat surface so our seals can sit against it. And I didn't do that other corner yet because you could see a nice cross section of it now. That's where we put it. So it's underneath that gap, because like I said, there's no gasket going to be there. And then it kind of goes up into that channel a little bit and then up here. That top section, I'm going to smear as much as I can up in there when I put the plastic over it. But that's where I'm going to put the seam sealer that's going to be exposed to the elements. So it doesn't really matter if there's a little bit of a space there right now. I also went and put some over the bolt holes, over the screw holes. These are inside the car, so they do not need to be sealed. And by the way, isopropyl alcohol works really good for taking the butyl like off of painted surfaces. So the weather stripping kit didn't come with new ones of these, so I'm gonna leave this on here. Just give it a wipe down quick, and we're just gonna hit it with that black weather stripping glue. And then right here is the fun part. That's where we get to just fill with butyl because we need a nice smooth transition. All right. That looks pretty good. A little bit of squeeze out the back. We don't care. Trim's going to cover that. So this tab screws into here on the car. It's got to slide under that channel. I'm pretty sure. It goes under the channel, right? Yeah, it goes under the channel. And then, come on. This is going to go in here. This is going to clip into here. And we just need to come up with something, because as you can see, when this is up here, you can kind of, that goes right into the car. So that's it right there. Weather stripping bolts to that tab. This guy flops over, and then that cavity right in there, we're going to fill. I'm going to do this so it doesn't, I really don't want to get goop all over this. Gotta make sure that's going to reach. And then this guy comes down and it has these little holes Yeah, that line up there. So I'm gonna use a this little plastic scraper. I'm just gonna wedge that in all the way around down the door. This is gonna go this way, it's gonna go down, and then that'll give us a nice understanding of where we need to pump that butyl into. All right, so I got like a rough test fit in, and I know what needs to be done. We need to kind of seat the corners first, because I kind of started here. I got this into place and I went around, but now by the time we got over here, this is nowhere near fitting. So this probably just needs to scooch back under the T-bar a little more. So when we go to install these, I'm gonna set the corners first, and there's actually a spec for this in the service bulletin. They say you gotta be like, I think 5 to 7 or like 6 to 8 millimeters. This needs to sit in, I think from this point here. I gotta look at it. So pretty much we're gonna set this corner, we're gonna set this corner, and then we'll go and squish the rest in. But I mean, everything seems to fit pretty good. This tool, this like, I think is, I don't even know if I got this from Harbor Freight. I think this came with the steering wheel cover for my Astra. Works perfectly to get in there and get that under. You can see now my goal here, painting all this, it matches and looks real nice when you pull the top off, nice and clean. T-bar actually seems to fit pretty good. So we're making progress. But I'm pretty much done for today. I'm gonna pull this out, let that set up. Hopefully tomorrow that's good, we could peel that plastic off. So it is the next day. Mistakes were made. The T-tops actually did all right. The rubber came off pretty easily. There's still a few, not rubber, the plastic came off without a problem. There's still a few, it's tacky, but for the most part, it's intact. The butyl, it didn't cure. This is just a huge, stringy, disgusting mess that's gonna make even more of a mess when I try to pull it off. At least the bead underneath that we're trying to seal, that's taken care of. So what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna rip this plastic out. We're gonna get the T-top seal seated in here. I want it nicely seated here, here, and I'll probably pop it in along here and here and just leave that out, being this stuff is so stringy and disgusting. And then we'll start seating this one section at a time. So we'll pump a bunch of butyl in there, weather stripping adhesive under here. We'll seat that end, and then we'll pull up this corner, do this side, put it back down, pull up this corner, and we'll just hop around section to section. So I got everything cleaned up as much as I can for now. You can see this little seam here, well, this little notch. So that's meant so the end of this can actually kind of sit in there. And this side's actually perfect because we're lined up good here. That screw is in there. And then down here, for the most part, it's lined up with the two push pin holes. And we have about that much space. The seals, they're a little wrinkly. This side isn't that bad. The other one, kind of over here, is still flat. This should hopefully straighten up, and we have the same kind of amount of space over here. Over here, we're looking pretty good too. The door closes. Let's see how the actual roof fits. This looks a little stupid, I don't know why. That's seated, that's all the way under there. I don't know why that sticks up. I mean, once the top is on, it should. It's probably just the seals. I'm being folded over in a box for 3 years. So I went and I sprayed some silicone spray on the edge of this, just to hopefully get it to slide under there a little better, because this is going to be a tight freaking fit. Oh, that feels wrong, man. Oh. It's a tight friggin' fit. I mean, the T-bar is the right shape. There's another T-bar floating around that Goodmark makes. I think it's Goodmark. And it's like insanely cheap. I think it's like 160 bucks. But apparently it's like, they didn't shape it to the roof correctly, so it just goes straight across. So when you put the top in, you have good contact in the middle, and then towards the end, the gap just gets bigger and bigger, and it fits like crap. The Hawks one, surprisingly, fits pretty good. It is a little bit proud of the roof, like the front and the back. The back, not so much, the front more. But at least the top fits in there fine. How are we with our pins? Oh, Jesus. Wow, we are friggin' miles away. Good thing those things adjust. You know what? I think I have the... That's going the wrong way then. I have the rubber's on the wrong T-top. Oh, good thing I didn't glue them in place. So this, you see this piece of rubber? How that angle is going like this way slightly? That's supposed to go on the other window because you want the angle to go like that and for these two to kind of slide in, so that's totally wrong. That's why you test fit things. All right, let's see how that fits. Get in there. It still fits like shit. Am I putting it in upside down? I gotta be putting it in upside down. I didn't even think that was a thing. But this, no, that can't be. This fits so perfectly like this. What? That is how, oh, yeah, okay, I had it upside down. Give me a minute. Well, the ends kind of just want to do whatever the hell they want, but that's in the right direction now. I guess once it goes on, it'll push down. Maybe they designed it that way, so it kind of slips into place. At least that's what I'm telling myself. Oh, like a glove, look at that. So now you could see that matches the angle of that and kind of slips right down into it. Same back here. All right, so I'm gonna do what I need to do to wrap this up. We're gonna get, I'm gonna continue on, just kind of at the top, pull sections out, glue it, get to the corners. I'm gonna pump that with some Butyl, and that's pretty much gonna be it. We'll take it out and we'll see if they leak. All right, we are just about there. Everything's pretty much setting up right now. There's a lot of glues mixed together. We got butyl caulk mixing with weather stripping adhesive in one corner, and then mixing with a little bit, like those back corners where the T-top bar is, you got butyl caulk mixing with weather stripping glue, mixing with urethane seam sealer. Is it gonna stick? Who the hell knows? Now there is a little bit of cleanup to do. I got a little messy when it came to this side because this was, at this point, I'm just like, I want this done. This took so much longer than I thought it was going to. So I'm gonna wait for this to kind of set up. Maybe I could get that off. I don't want to, my car looking like shit, you know, having a bunch of glue all over by the window glass. And then I did exactly pretty much what that service bulletin called for. I put the seam sealer right in this gap. This T-top bar is a little weird because it sticks up. I mean, I don't think the other one was, yeah, the old one definitely didn't stick up like that. It's not a big deal, but it's something I noticed. I mean, this is it. We're friggin' together. Now it's just about whether or not the glue's gonna actually dry overnight. Right now, let's go ahead and try to get this door figured out because the driver's door is in worse condition than the passenger. It just doesn't want to kind of get under the seal the right way. So we're gonna try to adjust it a little bit, maybe push it in, lower it down, try to still keep it square with this side because it's actually not too bad over here. Like that's all nicely lined up. There is a little void. This is, if this thing's gonna leak, it's gonna be here and on the other side, same spot. So you can see right in there where all this BS meets up. Top gasket, side gasket, the T-top, the window glass. It's a little hole, a little void right there. So that's where we're gonna get the water in, and it's probably just gonna trickle down the window. Better than on your head, but let's still try to adjust this, see if we can kind of get some of that closed up, and we definitely got to get that mess figured out. So there really isn't much holding these door panels on. You got 3 relatively long torque screws holding the door handle. You got one up here, and there's 2 down here. And then you got a bunch of decoy, I think they're the T10s, T15s. In here, there's some decoys. The key is to look for the ones that have the rust on them. The decoys are just like molded into the plastic, and you'll just strip them out, and they won't do anything. I haven't had these door panels off, so I don't know what I'm gonna find. Have the mice made their way into the doors? Possibly. 2 by the mirror control. I remember that. And then I think the other 2 is by the door lock. Yep. And they just kind of hook in like that. And then you got another real one behind it, and that's going to hold this whole plate on. And then I think these 2 also come out. You also got to pull this guy out. It's been a while since I took one of these door panels off. There we go. All right. Now there's just a bunch of push pins in the back of this, and it's all cardboard. So you're probably gonna rip them all out. This is the first time I'm actually removing one of these where I have actual panel removal tools. So we'll try them. I mean, they are cardboard, so that's kind of also a nice thing. It's because the door is just flat, it's easy to make your own door panel if you have to. And this car desperately needs door seals. Like they are just completely just gone, like eaten away. The plastic's just exposed. But I'm not really worried about that because I just want the roof to stop leaking. All right, and then after that's done, this is clipped into here, so you gotta kind of push in and lift it up. Or you could do like me and just rip this out, leave this behind, and then all of the little studs that were securing this to the door panel no longer are connected to the door panel. But now it's pretty much as simple as, and this panel's already, Jesus, this panel's already cracked up here. So we gotta be extra careful. Look at that. It's nice when you know what you're doing. Ooh, God, this is gross. There's a bunch of mold back here. Oh my, oh. All right, we'll just ignore that for now. Let me bring you in close, show you what we're gonna be doing here. Well, here's that. This is. There's all mold in the door. Oh. So right here is going to be our adjustment for our little triangle. Ooh, old cocoon. So this guy loosens up, that guy loosens up, and there's also a nut in there. You'll see there's like a 10 millimeter. You can loosen, I think there's 2 of those in there. Loosen them, and this thing can pretty much move whichever friggin' way you want it. Up, down, left, right, in, out. However you need it to go, that will move. For the window itself, it's pretty simple. For the height, this side, it's this thing. You just loosen them up, and it's gonna move the window stop up or down. And back here is in here. Same thing, you loosen that, you can move the window stop up or down. And pretty much you just wanna mess around with this until you get the window to kind of nicely sort of seal the way you want it to. So about 5 minutes with this, we are already pretty much there. You can see I brought that back down substantially from where it was. I also loosened this, kind of closed the door, got it to the position where it looked good, and then just tighten them down. And right now, just like that, look at that. Beautiful, all the way down. Filler panels right under there. Now I'm gonna bring the window up a little bit because you could see it's kind of, it's under that lip, but it could go up a little bit more. I wanna try to tweak it just a little bit, kind of leave this thing alone. Now what I do is just get one kind of seemingly where you want it, leave the other one loose. And then what that's gonna do, when you bring the window up, you're gonna hit the stop on one side, and then the window's gonna keep going on the other. It's gonna kind of twist. And what you could do is just kind of, like we know our stop is there. So that's it for that side. And then just, I wanna bring that up a little, so we'll go up a little bit more. And then we're gonna see what that actually did for us. That did a lot of bad. Too much. Finger down a hair, we'll try it again. Okay, we're underneath. Nice, all right, we make it all, that's as far up pretty much as we're gonna get that. This looks good. I think I could bring that up a little bit more. I'm gonna try. Modern cars, if you've ever driven a modern car with windowless, frameless windows, when you open the door, the window motor moves the window just like a hair to get down below the seal, and then the door opens. It's just like programmed into the car. These cars don't have that. So you have to just kind of deal with what you got and mechanically try to get everything to line up. All right, so I'm losing battery. Let me just show you my last thing that I'm doing here. I forgot that you can actually slide the window over. So I loosened the window track here and here and down there. And that allows you to move literally the entire window because the other side is supported by the track that's riveted inside the door. It's just on rollers. So I slid this over substantially. Now you can see, pretty much got it as far over as I can before we hit this little lip here. And that allowed us to get enough room to have enough glass to seal against that. There's still like a tiny little opening in there, but we can easily fix that up. A little like silicone or urethane on there, cover it with saran wrap, close the door to kind of fill that gap. You peel the saran wrap off, you have a custom little add on to your gasket, and that'll seal without an issue. All right, I had to show you this. I can't believe it. They're actually in the friggin' doors. How the hell did they get in there? The funny thing is, when I was driving this thing, I was like, it still smells. Like, it still smells like mouse shit and piss. And that's probably why, because I didn't ever take the doors apart. Just absolutely soaked in piss and shit. It gets so much worse. Ugh. What the hell is in there? Okay, whatever. You know what? It's not my problem. I'm the driver, not the passenger. So it's the next day, and unfortunately, the car wash, all the car washes are closed. So you know what that means. We have actual rain to test with, and no wipers, and the Rain-X didn't do shit. Now I checked kind of the outside exposed bits of seam sealer and urethane. They feel pretty good. Not urethane, the seam sealer and the butyl. The butyl's still a little sticky. It's supposed to be, but I think it needs to cure a little longer. I didn't pull the tops off since I set them last night, so I want them to like just stay on there. I'm probably gonna leave them on there for like a week, park it outside in the sun, make sure all that stuff cures up real good. But I mean, I couldn't leave you guys on a cliffhanger. We gotta see, you know, if this thing at least can hold some kind of water back. Between driving, getting the flex of the car going on, we're gonna see if these guys are gonna leak, at least immediately. I've never had to concentrate on what's in front of me so much in my life. Like, just trying to see through all the little raindrops. Because of course the wipers on our to-do list have not been addressed yet. I'm hearing some wind noise, but I think that's just coming from the rock holes in the bottom of the door. Like, if anything is gonna leak, my money's on these back corners. Even though after the adjustment, somehow it's like, I guess I brought the window height pretty much as far as I can up in the back before it like hits that drip rail on the T-top, and that kind of allowed it to squish into the top seal more, and that gap that was there, it's not nearly as big. I couldn't even really see it last night, so we might not even have to like dab some silicone or urethane on there and make our own little like addition to the seal. It sounds like it's coming from the glass. No water's coming in though. Yeah. I mean, after these sit for like a week or so, I'm gonna come back in and see if I could get the glass to come up a little bit tighter. But as it is now, it is like at least, it's like maybe 1/8 of an inch tucked up with that lip hanging down over it. So I'm not concerned about water, it's just definitely gonna get a little wind noise. Now I didn't mention this, I don't think I mentioned it, when I put the T-tops back on. You do have some adjustment in the height. So these little cams where the T-top actually latches into, you can adjust them up, down, in and out, and kind of mess with them if it's not sitting perfectly flat. If this seal here isn't perfectly in line with the door seal at the pillar, front or the rear, you could bring that down with those cams and bring it in line so the whole like seal kind of lines up and it's even when the glass goes up. But we'll drive around a little bit, let this thing kind of give it time for water to kind of make its way down where it's going to try to make it, and we'll see if anything actually comes in. Also, you may notice I did not put the door panels back on because they need a lot of work and there's a lot of crap I got to scoop out of the doors. So being this car doesn't have any interior anyway, and we're going to be putting it in very soon because this is looking promising, I figured we might as well just leave them off. We'll clean them up and address them with the rest of the interior. Here comes the highway test. We're going to give these window seals a run for their money. The mirrors on these cars are like useless. They're so damn small. Coming down pretty good. Hard to tell which drops are on the inside and which are on the outside. I also left all the covers off of the T-tops. Yeah, this stuff, it's like skimmed over the butyl, but it's not totally remotely even cured. I mean, the problem is sitting in a garage that's like 35, 40 degrees all day and night. It's gonna take a while. The back, it's getting there. I don't know, maybe it just stays soft like that. No, that's definitely not cured. Okay, light's green. What does it mean when the blower doesn't turn off? It's literally on off. Why is the blower motor on? And the temperature does nothing. The speed control. What the hell? You gotta give her a little something, get the frame a twist and see if these babies leak. I'm so glad this worked, otherwise I would have had to put in an order for another thumbnail. Get some creaky driveway action in. good. I thought for sure we would have at least had like a trickle, you know, down the inside of the glass, because the door seals like to be a problem, especially this back corner. And that looks friggin' good. Completely dry. Looks like they're sealing fine up here, where the gasket was kind of wrinkled back there. I mean, they squished down enough, so. There we go. That's looking real nice. Window lines up good. Feeling pretty good about the tops. That T-bar is the main issue. As you can see here, this is where the seals run. Right in the middle here, there's nothing. So you gotta make sure that's sealed up, because it's not necessarily the weather stripping that's the problem. It's the way the car was designed, and that water gets in that T-bar, or it gets in the voids here where it transitions. That's where they start to leak. I mean, unless your gaskets are like completely shot, they really don't seem to leak between the glass and the seal themselves. But I'm gonna drive this thing around. We're gonna see, you know, where this goes in the future. For now, I'm saying they're fixed. We're definitely gonna get some subframe connectors on this thing, because that's going to help stiffen it up and keep everything from kind of creaking and moving around and potentially causing it to eventually leak. But I'm pretty happy with the result. I have some pretty cool stuff coming up on this. The Escalade is gonna be returning first next week. I got the heads back. And then this girl has something really cool going on in the interior. We're gonna get the tap shift hooked up. We're gonna get the interior back together. And some point, probably by the spring, we'll have it on a dyno.